It is as if assuming, Mr. Speaker, that everybody that lives in Karen is wealthy. Yet, you know, within the abodes of Karen, Mr. Speaker, there is Gwinda Slum. Yet, everybody believes, Mr. Speaker, that if you are to just make a general determination and say, oh, people that come from a particular region, you should never address their needs. Because people that come, I heard Senator Faki say Kiambu, for example, that he is surprised why Kiambu makes it to the list. I would put it to them, Mr. Speaker, that in the year 2018, Budget and Finance Committee received a petition from members of the public. And they felt that the first marginalization policy passed by the CRA, Mr. Speaker, marginalized certain areas because it followed this kind of thinking that in the general interpretation and based on our own thoughts and ideas, that there are certain regions and there are certain parts of the country, Mr. Speaker, that are way ahead because of certain beliefs. They receive rainfall. I think that's what I heard Senator Alwale say. Other regions, because maybe they've had the opportunity of producing a president and things like that. That petition spoke to these issues, Mr. Speaker. Number one, that petition, Mr. Speaker, to our committee reminded us that a county is too large a geographical space, Mr. Speaker, when coming up with a marginalization policy. They recommended to us as a committee that we ask CRA, in their consideration of the second marginalization policy, which is what is enforced today, Mr. Speaker, that we ask them to be more specific to the least geographical administration unit, which in this country, Mr. Speaker, is a sublocation, and see the specific needs of residents of this republic based on where they live, Mr. Speaker. And the petitioners at that particular time, because I do recall what they asked of us at that particular time, Mr. Speaker, is that it is very easy to be misled and imagine that because of certain advantage of climate conditions or horticultural practices, Mr. Speaker, and certain beliefs that people have held about certain sections of a country, that it is possible to continue to perpetuate marginalization due to general belief that certain regions and certain parts of the country, Mr. Speaker, are well endowed. Second and most importantly, Mr. Speaker, is that you are asked to do a proper reading of Article 204. And I'd wish to read for the benefit of the members that had spoken earlier. Particularly Section 4, Mr. Speaker, which directed that CRA, the Commission for Revenue Allocation, shall be consulted. I don't just consult. You know, consult, Mr. Speaker, in this country got a new meaning during the infamous days of the, what was it called? Not handshake, the one between Kibaki and Raila. I forget the name. Katenusu, Mr. Speaker, after the post-election violence of 2007. You remember that on the floors of Parliament, there was a big debate about what consultation is. And I want to believe that it is on that background that actually Article 204 speaks to. It doesn't just say that we consult CRA. It tells us its recommendation considered before Parliament, that we must demonstrate that we did not just listen to CRA, we considered what they asked of us as Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, when CRA sat down and retreated to consider and give their proposal of the second marginalization policy, Mr. Speaker, they used sublocations and they went across the breadth of this country. There are close to 50,000 sublocations across this country, Mr. Speaker, each with already determined matrices of measurement, particularly on the issues, because remember, Article 204 has asked of us that we try and bring, they use a very interesting word, to general levels of what citizens in the rest of the country enjoy. And they speak to water, roads, electricity, and I think there's a fourth item which I forget, Mr. Speaker. Out of their report, Mr. Speaker, CRA proposed to us that in their findings, there are 1,864, Mr. Speaker, sublocations that will fall under the category of what you call marginalized parts of this country. I'll put it to you, Senator Boni Halwale, because you mentioned the county and the people that I represent in this house, that it is actually true. Kericho receives rainfall nearly 11 out of 12 months. But what do you do with rainfall if you come from a part like Soin and Soliat, Mr. Speaker, that the land is 90% stone. You can't farm on such land, Mr. Speaker. To build even a road in that part of the country, Mr. Speaker, because you have got to dig through hardcore stone, Mr. Speaker, is almost 5 times the cost of what 70–80% of the county will enjoy. And therefore, it was with good reason, Mr. Speaker, that CRA moved actually from the first marginalization policy, where equalization fund was being distributed based on this, what we know, and idiosyncrasies that we formed over the years, that this part of the country is rich, this one is poor, Mr. Speaker, and reduce it to the least unit of administration, and that is a sublocation, Mr. Speaker, in determination of which parts of the country get to benefit from these funds. It is also important that the report that you brought here, Senator Boni Alwale and Senator Faki, actually attest and gives history about this particular discussion. Actually, it's 1424, not 1824, Mr. Speaker. And I appreciate, because even in the report that the committee has brought out, Mr. Speaker, has told us that despite that decision, Senator Halwale, 60% still of these funds, they find themselves in the hands of the so-called, what you now traditionally refer to as deserving counties to benefit. That is a county of, and I think your report actually has a list. For example, in this bill, West Pokot will get 1.8 billion, Turkana will get 1.8 as well, Mandera 1.2, Wajir 1.2, Samburu 1.1, Garissa 1.1, and Baringo 970 million Kenya shillings, which tells you that they have not departed completely from the initial thinking that there are certain counties which generally, Mr. Speaker, suffer the bias of having been left by the rest of the country with regards to provision of services on those 3 or 4 aspects that the Constitution identified as important for the basic livelihood of an ordinary citizen of this country. And therefore, if you are found to be completely out of par with the rest of the country, then you meet that categorization, Mr. Speaker. 60% still falls under those particular counties, and the rest of the 40 is shared actually. Percent is shared in these so-called 30 counties, which people may debate here or there that either they deserve or they do not deserve. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I make the case that I believe that that committee, in agreeing with the recommendations of CRA, did something Solomonic, Mr. Speaker, because I would still find it difficult to face certain sections of my county, for example, and tell them that I passed a bill here on equalization funds, Mr. Speaker, to take resources to certain parts of the country by consideration, Mr. Speaker, that generally or traditionally they are considered to be poor, yet they will show me, and justifiably so, Mr. Speaker, that even us, we live in worse or as harsh conditions, Mr. Speaker, as those particular counties, Mr. Speaker. And the same can be said of all these 1424 sublocations that have been listed in the second marginalization policy. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, if my colleagues hold the view that it was a wrong departure by CRA and by us agreeing with them, Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that this is the year that CRA is actually doing their consideration of the third policy on marginalization. It will be interesting to see what the present committee will do with them, and it will be of importance to convince us as a House, Mr. Speaker, to know why we need to depart from that particular logic. And for your information, colleagues, that committee actually was chaired by a senator from the north, the Senator Engineer Mohamud, who himself represented an extremely marginalized county, the county of Mandera. But when the facts and the figures were tabled, Mr. Speaker, he couldn't help but agree and say, this is justifiable, Mr. Speaker. That is what we need to do as a country. That any time we are making decisions on policy, Mr. Speaker, on determination, on any aspects, Mr. Speaker, we consider the true facts as they are. You know, the bigger challenge that we have as a country, and something that we must do over time, if indeed as Parliament we are to respond to the needs of, the growing needs of our people and the scarce resources that we have to distribute, Mr. Speaker, we must move to levels which have been done by other countries that have found themselves in states and situations such as what Kenya finds itself in, Mr. Speaker. For example, I know for a fact, Mr. Speaker, that generally in a country like India, when they want to pass subsidy of any nature, Mr. Speaker, that it is possible to identify direct individuals who qualify under that particular bracket, Mr. Speaker, and say, even if you're buying the same item, Mr. Aaron Cheruyot, you cannot pay the same price for that particular item with your house or domestic worker, Mr. Speaker, where they live, because you have a better spending power than that particular individual. As it is today in our country, Mr. Speaker, 60 years later after independence, when we want to pass a policy on, let's say, my favorite item that I keep on using, Mr. Speaker, is bread, that we believe, and wrongly so, that if you pass subsidy on bread like we do, that's why we zero rate it, Mr. Speaker, we have helped accommodate, Mr. Speaker, the poor that feed on it. While that may be true for many of us that are in the urban settings, Mr. Speaker, it is not an accurate representation of their item of consumption in the morning by almost 70 or 80% of the citizens of this republic, Mr. Speaker. And second and most importantly, Mr. Speaker, even for us that are in urban settings, there should be a price differentiation between those that live in certain affluent neighborhoods, Mr. Speaker, and therefore can afford to pay slightly better, and those that actually deserve it. It is until, Mr. Speaker, we do something akin or similar to what CRA did in the transition from the first to the second marginalization policy, Mr. Speaker, that we will then say that as a country, indeed, we are looking out after the welfare of those that are not as endowed as others, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, this issue of making general provisions and saying it is commonly believed that the people in Kwale, the people in I don't know which part of the country are poor. They are more rich men, sometimes, Mr. Speaker, in that particular county and can afford things better than even the so-called quote-unquote rich counties, Mr. Speaker. Yet we are not certain. Nobody has done actually a study to establish these particular facts, Mr. Speaker, on what will qualify to be a rich or a particular poor county. Yet we know Kenya Bureau of Standards, Mr. Speaker, publish these statistics. It is what we used on our formula, Mr. Speaker, when you're using poverty index, Mr. Speaker, to make a determination on what is a qualification of a particular individual. There's something that is of concern to me, though, Mr. Speaker. And I don't know why members of this committee approved of this without, perhaps maybe later, because I've tried to scan through the findings of the committee deeply. And your committees, Senator Boni, together with Senator Faki, doesn't speak to the fact that the recurrent expenditure in this board that we created, the Equalization Board, for a body that distributes just 16 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker, is 504 million shillings. That is a lot of money, Mr. Speaker. And it will interest me to know whether you as a committee interrogated them and seek to establish what is it that is so complex about. CRA had already done the job. It is our duty, Mr. Speaker, to determine how much goes to each and individual parts of the country. So what is this job that they still have to do, Mr. Speaker, that you require a staff establishment that consumes an entire 540 million per financial year, Mr. Speaker? CDF, and that's why I continue to say this, Mr. Speaker. We may not like it as senators, Mr. Speaker, but the way that law was structured continues to impress upon Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, because of how lean it is on recurrent expenditure. 97% of the funds that go to the constituencies go to actual tangible projects, Mr. Speaker. I think there's a capping of only 2.5% on recurrent to just keep operations office here and there and things of the same. It will be my assumption, Mr. Speaker, that on a matter as important as equalization fund, Mr. Speaker, that we would limit actually additional expenditure by way of salaries to individuals. This is such a matter, Mr. Speaker, and I say this with tremendous respect to the people that work in this institution, that you will have perhaps only one coordinator per county to oversee and ensure that whatever Parliament has appropriated, Mr. Speaker, is put to prudent use. They write a report, it comes to Parliament. If somebody has misappropriated the funds, Mr. Speaker, the laws exist on how to punish those individuals. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, that is a point of concern which I hope, Mr. Speaker, that when our committee gets to interact further in their nature of work, perhaps for the new financial year, Mr. Speaker, or later on, Senator Faki, you will come back to the House with a recommendation on how to take down that recurrent cost in this particular board, because it was a thinking actually of the Kenyan people that will spend more of these funds in trying to bring equality in the four listed area. It is further provided, Mr. Speaker, that in clause 5, that the authorization by controller of budget over withdrawal from the fund, together with written instructions from the secretary of the board through the National Treasury requesting withdrawal, shall be sufficient authority for CBK to pay amounts given in accordance with approval and instructions given. I agree with this, Mr. Speaker, that it is the neatest way to ensure that once all the project proposals have gone through the rigorous process, Mr. Speaker, because we passed in this House last time the regulations on how to determine what project to fund, Mr. Speaker. And I like the fact that the Constitution is extremely explicit on what are the items that the counties need to be brought up to par with the rest of the country. You cannot, for example, Mr. Speaker, sit and say there is a particular item that certain counties have moved far away ahead of us, and therefore we need to catch up with them. It is limited to the 4 items that I named particularly earlier, and therefore it is my hope and plea that the controller of budget sticks to those particular regulations that we pass. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I celebrate the industry of this committee. Senator Boni Halwale had earlier invited me into a contest of which one was useful between the committee that I served in and the one that he serves in. Mr. Speaker, that is an invitation which I reject vehemently, Mr. Speaker, because it is served by members who are equally as good as we were when he served in that particular committee. Therefore, I wouldn't wish to engage in that debate. But I've given my thoughts, Mr. Speaker. It will be interesting to listen to them because you have the chance to vary that policy later this year, Senator Boni and Faki, that you lead us even into making it better than what the second one is, which is this one. And we will gladly support, Mr. Speaker, because I believe as a country we must mature to a level of refining our processes and procedures and making them better to ensure that we respond to the needs of the ordinary citizens. And using this basis, Mr. Speaker, that it is possible even to take this further in all the areas and sector, including on development, because I agree with my whip that when it comes to distribution, for example, of road resources, Mr. Speaker, there's a big problem in the country. Senator Boni Halwale, I don't know what the minister said because I haven't had the benefit of listening, and it will be nice because to the best of my knowledge, Mr. Speaker, what I read, the cabinet dispatch, read that there shall be an invitation through privately sourced funds through PPP, Mr. Speaker, of interested bidders and individuals to build the project similar to what we have as a Nairobi Expressway from Nairobi here all the way to the border in Malaba, Mr. Speaker. If there has been a departure, I wouldn't know, and it will be interesting to know. But what you need to know further, Senator Boni Halwale, is that I've just released from the Ministry of Roads on this very hot topic, Mr. Speaker, on the securitization of RMLF, Mr. Speaker, that it is meant to pay contractors, 580 of them, that have done work worth 175 billion, Mr. Speaker. What is of concern to me, and I have said this many times, Mr. Speaker, is that those opposed to it, including that particular gentleman who spoke about it yesterday, lead on the list of the beneficiaries and people that have benefited from those road contracts being done in their constituencies and counties. What do I tell the people of Kericho when I return home this weekend, Mr. Speaker? That they are not part of those 580 contracts, Mr. Speaker, out of this first phase of securitization. You know very well, Mr. Speaker, that after the political dynamics of the last administration, certain parts of the country, including the part of the country that I represent in this House, Mr. Speaker, were completely blacklisted. Not an inch of tarmac was done in that part of the country. Today, if we are told, Mr. Speaker, that in your consideration of how to finance roads, Mr. Speaker, the government cannot do some sort of equalization like what we are discussing here, it means we stay another 5 years, Mr. Speaker, without an inch of tarmac, Mr. Speaker. While we know for a fact that in certain parts of the country, Mr. Speaker, they have even overpasses and underpasses. Very beautiful roads, Mr. Speaker, which only donkeys walk on, Mr. Speaker, because there's nothing else to do out of it. It is not fair. I want to insist, Mr. Speaker, and I have said this to none other than the Cabinet Secretary for the Roads, that this 175 billion alone is not enough. Until also we that equally pay RMLF, that we pay and produce tea, that pay taxes close to 50 to 100 billion, Mr. Speaker, per year, begin to see the benefits of that securitization, Mr. Speaker, we cannot say it is enough. Otherwise, what will later be prudent to do, Mr. Speaker, is to ask that we operate this like a hotel. You pay for what you have consumed, Mr. Speaker. You cannot walk into a hotel and say that now, since everybody is drunk, contribute. If you took an expensive whiskey, Mr. Speaker, while I'm taking konyagi, I will pay for konyagi, you pay for the material that you took, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, what we are being invited to is further marginalization, which this bill is speaking to. That indeed, at a particular point in time in our country, Mr. Speaker, we need to tell each other the truth and say that because there were counties that for the last 60 years were marginalized, Mr. Speaker, we provide certain funds for them to benefit, which is what this bill is asking us to do. Let us not entrench further marginalization, even in the advent of the new constitution, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, I beg to support, Mr. Speaker, and hope that we can conclude on this so that the benefiting 1,402 sub-locations, Mr. Speaker, can benefit from these 16.9 billion Kenya shillings. I thank you.